Hi, it's Joe. Today is part 4 of the 5-part series of bee builds, and today's video features a Rebrickable MOC of the Friendship Treehouse. So those are my 5 bee builds. So the next step now is to actually build the Rebrickable model that kind of inspired this whole idea for the video, and take apart the Friendship Treehouse and get going on that. So there's the Rebrickable model, MOC 102963 Beekeeper Shop by Artisan. And I think this is a really cool looking model, considering it was made out of parts for a big treehouse. And I have to admit, when I was taking the treehouse apart, I was wondering how we were going to actually get walls, because there were very few pieces, it seemed, that were made for walls and a lot more made for trees. But there is a lot more than meets the eye if you just look at the front of the building here, and we'll take a tour all the way around. We'll start with the front, which has a front door and a nice little welcome mat with the bees, because this happened to be a stickered piece from the original model. And this model actually makes pretty good use of these stickered pieces where it can. There are some stickered pieces that are going to look out of place, but that's inevitable for doing a Rebrickable model out of something like a LEGO Friends set. But I think it makes good use of the stickers where it can. The front of the building is mostly blue walls with the yellow accents in the center and around the windows, and I think it makes great use of these yellow leaves to put around the windows, and we've got some other leaves and the ladybug and pink flowers to serve as decorations. We've got these 2 cone-shaped trans yellow pieces to be like the porch lights, which I think works really well. And because it is a beekeeper's home, and it was based on a treehouse, we've got tree branches coming out everywhere. And I don't think the instructions called for the butterfly and the bee here, but I had the extra pieces, so I'm going to just put them there. And we also have the white bird. We go around to the side here. We get these side builds out of the way. I'll show you those at the end. We have, looks like a nice little balcony here, and not a whole lot going on here on the other wall. Looks like here we're just making use of the white pieces we had left to fill in the wall space. But you start to see why I think this is such an imaginative rebuild of a treehouse, because the back of the model is like the beekeeper's home is built into the back of a gigantic tree. And when you look at it from this angle, I think you definitely see treehouse. We have the telescope here on the balcony, which is very similar to the original model. And we've got a beehive here and a couple of small builds to look like birdhouses, including one with an actual bird. And again, making nice use of the leaf and branch pieces here. Moving around to the other side, there's not a whole lot here to see. And here you can kind of see where these Technic pieces don't have any function. They just kind of fill the space, because at some point we were bound to run out of regular bricks, and we had lots of these arched brown bricks here that are used often as tree parts, and these are just filling the space. Here you see an example of where the stickered pieces kind of show up because you have no other choice. And I, of course, already put the stickers on before this was built. And back to the front, we have a couple more lights. I assume those are supposed to be lights. I think those 1x1 trans yellow pieces were originally supposed to be like small honey dishes in the original model, but here they are accent lights. Then here on the roof, again, making use of some of the stickered pieces to show the green and brown wood grain here and other leaves and branches, as though nature is growing over the top of this building. And speaking of which, right here, and it's not immediately noticeable, but there's actually no roof over this little balcony area. It's just a couple of these branch pieces with flowers and leaves on them that serve as the cover for that balcony area. We also have a few side builds, and some of them are pretty much exactly the same as what the original model had. Here's the bicycle with the basket in front, or the big crate in front. There's nothing in the crate this time, but that's pretty much the same build. We also have the workbench with the vise on the end. Here, I think this is just making use of these black bracket pieces to serve just kind of as a bench if you wanted to have a bench outside the beekeeper's house. And then just some of these extra pieces here were used to make it look like 4 seats and a small table. Although 2 of the seats have studs on them, which would be great for sitting mini figures, but of course the original set didn't come with those kinds of figures. But again, there is more to this than what you see here at the front, because there is an interior and it is built in a modular style. So we should be able to pop off the top pretty easily, and we can pop off the second floor, and we'll take a look inside. We'll start here in the back of the beekeeper shop, and it is a little bit harder to see in here because there's a wall on all 4 sides. But in the back, it looks like the various food items that are available, with the centerpiece being honey, represented by 1x1 round bricks with the bee tile on top. And in this case, I think the bee tile is to represent a lid to the honey and not an actual bee. But there's also a cake, coffee mugs, a cookie, carrot, some mushrooms, and the little sign here indicating that honey is available. And we move around to the side, and that could be considered a cash register or possibly a scale. Maybe you're buying honey by the pound, I'm not sure. And then here in the middle, again making use of a stickered tile just for floor decoration. We move to the other side here, and honestly, I am not sure what any of this stuff is. I think, again, it's just like a bookshelf or maybe some other products, but I know that a couple of these tiles here, like the yellow one and the red one at the bottom, those are supposed to be seat cushions, so I think it's just a matter of use your imagination here. At the front, we see there's a beehive and another one of the bee tiles, and we see the honeycomb tile has made its way down here. It's kind of hard to see because of the light, and I would hope that they're not keeping bees indoors, but who knows? I don't know much about beekeeping. And off to the side here is a ladder, which is how this model has shown how to get to the upstairs. And then finally, the front door here, which has a couple of Technic bricks on top, but that's more because it's being used to hold the decorative leaves in place. And another one of these stickered pieces, that's inevitable. I think that's supposed to be a sticker with jars of paint, but who knows, maybe this particular beekeeper needs to keep some paint up there. Now we're on the upstairs part, which would be the living space, I believe, for the beekeeper, where they've got a pizza and a seat cushion and what looks like it might be a stove or fridge or some type of kitchen with maybe a little faucet there on the right and their coffee mug. Definitely not much living space here, but this is Lego World, and I think every shopkeeper lives upstairs from their business. We turn it around, we see the computer from the original model. We also see the stereo here in the back and the guitar hanging up, and the bed is actually elevated, probably because the opening to get upstairs from downstairs is underneath, and we have railings to make sure that the beekeeper doesn't fall out, but also you could, I would assume, turn those 90 degrees and you have the ladder for how to get up into the bed. Then here on the side, you've got kind of the swinging door here to lead out into the balcony area, which is nicely overhung by the branches, and there's no actual furnishings out here. It's just a nice place to go enjoy the outdoors, I imagine. And finally, there's no interior to the roof. It's hollow, and from the front, it's all brown. In the back, we have some yellow pieces and green pieces that just kind of fill out the design, but honestly, I think those would look okay if they were pointing to the front. All in all, I think this is a great looking alternate model. The only problem I had with it is this piece right here. This brown piece with the branch on it is only held on from above, and I've knocked it off a couple of times already, but that's not a big deal. And I think this would look good in a modular city if you really wanted to. It is 16 studs wide, and it's not as long as a base plate, but you could certainly put a half base plate under it and it would work and slot into your city. In fact, Brick Artisan's Rebrickable page for this model shows it in the context of being with other buildings, and it fits in just fine. And I think it's fun for kids to play with too, because you can open it up and you can position your figures, especially out here on the balcony. There's lots of space. or you could have them pretend that they're shopping in the Beekeeper shop. Thank you for watching part 4 of this series. Please come back tomorrow for the next video featuring a Rebrickable MOC of the Beekeeper's house and flower garden, or Saturday for the full video. And remember that today is a good day to build.